ヒーローになることは誰もが望んでいる。しかし、誰もがヒーローであれば、この世界はどれほどひどくなるのか、誰もが知っている。
Honkai has a couple of people who can be called heroes. Welt and Kiana are some of those examples. So how about a guy by the name of Kevin? He has been recently referenced in HSR's 2.1 quest, and I'm assuming there are many people who don't know his story, and can only go with what Welt has said about him. So let me explain the story of a hero who attempted to save humanity for 50,000 years until being surpassed by the heroes of the current era. Now, as this video is going to be watched by some people that know almost or completely nothing about Honkai Impact lore, I'll try to explain a bit of everything if things get confusing, okay? So, Kevin was just a normal guy who transferred to a school by the name of Chiba Academy, a very prestigious school in Nagazora. He was very popular, very athletic, and was called the Prince of Chiba Academy. He also liked a girl by the name of Mei. A side note, if I may add, all the names that are recognizable should be considered as their own characters, despite having similar looks or name. So, Kevin and Mei had a very cuddly relationship until the Honkai nation attacked. The Honkai is essentially a force of nature that attacks many human civilizations across multiple worlds with monsters, plagues, or natural disasters. In the previous era, the Honkai was considered to be a minor threat by all, until godlike beings named HSRs appeared. They were originally a light threat to deal with, but that changed when the third HSR destroyed Nagazora. So during that time, when Mei and Kevin escaped the city, they were approached by Firemoth, a universal organization that tried to defeat the Honkai. This organization was very much interested in Mei because she was considered a genius, and would want her as a strong asset against the Honkai. They hired her, along with Kevin because he was a simp to Mei and wanted to fight with her as a soldier.
どんな理想でも他人の理想を踏みにじらなければ実現できない。認められないなら君自身が気づいていないだけだ。それを基準にして考えれば人は2種類に分かれる。それができる者はヒーローと呼ばれ、他の者たちは凡人だと思われる。
During Kevin's time as a soldier for a few years, 3 HSRs came to the world until being killed by Firemoth, bringing the kill count to 6. On the surface, it was seen as an achievement, with many more people, like Cosma, joining Firemoth, and it would be great. However, on the inside, the HSRs were getting harder to kill, and it was harder to respond against. So something was needed to be done fast as the Honkai released another HSR, turning it into a literal wildfire with the 7th HSR. Again, not the same Himiko. This HSR was very powerful, more powerful than any other threat seen. So to stand a chance, Mei proposed Project Soldier, which made people gain abilities from the genes of Honkai beasts, while also gaining the side effects of said genes physically. These people would be called Mantis Soldiers. Kevin was the first to participate in said project, and came out of it successfully, gaining powers of the Honkai beast Parvati, who was capable of using ice powers. As such, an ice versus fire thing happened, and Kevin won against the HSR. This gave Kevin PTSD as the HSR gained a human consciousness for the last seconds of her life. A similar thing happened with the 6th HSR, which caused Kevin to hesitate, leading to more deaths. This PTSD was a big thing for him, but because of his side effects of the genes, making his entire body temperature go sub-zero, made things more difficult for him and those around him. So he had to isolate himself from many people, especially Mei, making him go from this go-lucky guy to a cold, war-driven soldier who's very antisocial and has PTSD. However, this made him into the most powerful soldier in Firemoth. Along with the fact that this is when the divine keys were made, humanity was looking like they had a chance against the Honkai, but the HSRs that came after were very problematic and chaotic, requiring a more different approach.
鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う？
それは飛びたいからだ。
しかしありえない。
なら君の答えは？
飛ばないといけないからだ。
適合者のみが生き残れると信じているんだな。結末は全てを検証する試金石となり、勝利のみが氷となる。ならば若者よ、今回語るのは イカロスという若者。そして君に知ってほしいんだ。墜落するために飛び上がる人間もいるのだと。
The 8th Hersher made people dead through word combinations. The 9th destroyed 1/6 of the world by making a black hole. Fun fact about that. The divine key made from that Hersher, Star of Eden, is the cane that Welt uses in HSR, making Welt potentially the most powerful guy in HSR, unless we get a Hersher level villain in the game. Anyway, back on track, the 10th Hersher transformed people into puppets, who possess a hive mind and gorilla level tactics. Now, the last three were strong, but manageable, as Firemoth's arsenal grew bigger and stronger, until the 11th Hersher came, that is. It had the power to destroy any and all technology used by humans. It was very devastating, like 70% of the human population dead, devastating. The only ones that stood a chance against the 11th Hersher were 13 Mantis soldiers, who would eventually be called the Flame Chasers, an unofficial group made by Elysia, and are seen in the Elysian realm in Honkai Pact 3rd. The 12th Hersher was a bit confusing as it possessed a girl named Rin, and didn't have any power of a Hersher, despite being confirmed to be one. So what would you do with her? Firemoth decided to confine, torture, and study her, which later led to her death, giving birth to the actual Hersher, which later led to this Hersher corrupting the last 300 nukes that were supposed to be used against the Honkai to be used against the last 3 cities in the world, leaving only about 31,000 people alive.
もしいつかこうやって私に対してトリガーを引くことで大多数の人々を助けられるのならケビン、あなたはどうするの？
The next Hersher was revealed to be Elysia. Her story is far too long to explain, and she has nothing to do in a video about Kevin. So to give a very quick synopsis, Elysia was the first Hersher born in the previous era. She traveled the world, not knowing that she was a Hersher, fought the Honkai, and learned to appreciate both humanity and Hershers together. So to try to bring humanity and Hershers together, she made a final banquet, inviting all the Flame Chasers that were alive. Only 4 of them came: Kevin, Aponia, Eden, and Vilvi. They talked, she gave them crystal flowers, and sacrificed herself to have future Hershers be capable of choosing to fight for humanity. A few days later, the final Hersher descends. The last 8 members fight her on the moon, and later immobilize her, with only 2 dead. Kevin comes back to Earth, seen made dead by Honkai corruption, along with a note saying sorry, and a baby made with Kevin's and May's genes. Before the final Hersher is revived, Kevin and most of what's left of humanity enter their cryopods and enter the current era, while the final Hersher destroys the entirety of the previous era. Kevin, with baby and sword in hand, vows to give humanity hope and defeat the Honkai, no matter the cost.
イカロスはうぬぼれゆえに、それが招いた事故によって命を落としたとみんなは思っている。しかし、もしそれがずっと昔からやろうとしていたことだとしたら、彼は幼い頃、こんなことを言っていた。私は天へと飛び上がり、落ちることで勝利を迎える。
だが、それに何の価値がある？他人に踏みにじられる階段を与え、己の失敗で高くまで飛ぶなと戒めるためとでも。
逆だ。彼はあえてあることを証明したかったんだ。私は太陽の目の前まで飛び上がった。そこは誰もが及ばない場所。だから誰かが私を超えられるかもしれない。さて、鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う
To help the current era fight the Honkai, Firemoth, before the previous era was destroyed, made Project Save with 4 other projects. Ember, which was given to Fuhua, Fushi, and Nuwa, to use the knowledge from the previous era and teach the people of the current era of such knowledge. Valuka, given to Kevin's best friend Sue, used the second divine key to view worlds in the imaginary tree that succeeded against the Honkai. The imaginary tree, in a very simple oversimplification, is a very massive tree that holds many universes in branches or leaves. Project Arc was given to Gricio, which essentially made her travel space to look for planets not affected by the Honkai. And then Stigma. This project was originally given to Sue, but Kevin was a good guy and took Stigma from him. Stigma was the worst project because it made people to be affected by the Honkai hopefully be given a stigmata whilst killing billions of people. Side note, that project would eventually change during the events of Chapter 33, where instead of killing people for a sliver chance of gaining immunity to Honkai, those that couldn't develop that immunity would be sent to a spiritual Adam, which should be familiar as it was mentioned in HSR. So during this time in the current era, 3 out of the 4 projects were taking too long and were considered failures by Kevin. Ember led to Honkai growing stronger, Baloka didn't find any worlds not covered by Honkai, and the Ark didn't find any planets. So, very hesitantly, Kevin begins to test Stigma, despite him not liking doing this. Sue confronts and tries to stop Kevin by sending him to the Sea of Quanta along with him. The Sea of Quanta is an area outside of the imaginary tree, which holds and destroys bubble universes as food. Kevin stops fighting him and yeets Sue out of the sea, hoping that Sue finds a world before he escapes. Kevin doesn't appear again until chapter 12, where Kevin defeats Seela, Bronia, and a younger Welt. He makes multiple minor appearances across multiple chapters, until the last 3 chapters of part 1, where Kevin implements the change to Project Stigma, which was almost successful, until he was defeated as a final boss of part 1 by the main trio, and a major fourth wall break across all games, making the player character a higher dimensional being. Now Kevin lives happy in the afterlife with all of his comrades and friends.